Next, we'll take a look at forks. So a fork in a blockchain is a split where a second project emerges from the original blockchain. This could be the result of members of a development team where maybe they disagree on the direction of the original project, and this could lead to a significant change in how the network operates. A proposal could be made that splits the blockchain into two, where one network follows the old way of doing things and the new one follows a new set of rules. Now, these proposals, these changes typically will be found in regards to like block sizes and transaction times, where certain developers or maybe miners may prefer larger block sizes, and maybe there's a subset that prefers smaller block sizes. And this often and has in the past resulted in a split in the blockchain where developers and miners will continue on one path and developers and miners will continue on another. Here's just a basic visualization of forks. Let's say there's this original blockchain. There's this disagreement over the protocol rules, the rules of the network. Let's say there's this new rule set, maybe larger block sizes, whatever it is. We don't have to be too concerned with that with traders looking at financial, particularly at technicals of the blockchains. We just need to know that there is a difference, some sort of relation between the two chains, between the two projects, that they came from the same blockchain, but there's a disagreement in the rule set between them. Now, some examples of cryptocurrency forks include Bitcoin to Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin to Litecoin, Litecoin to Dogecoin, Ripple XRP to Stellar Lumen XLM, and Ethereum to Ethereum Classic. What we're going to focus on for our fork example is XRP Ripple and XLM Stellar. So here are just the stat rundown of XRP and XLM. So XRP has a market cap of $29.5 billion. It's considered in the top 10, and it generally shifts. Sometimes it's in the top 5 largest market cap coins. Sometimes it's just in the top 10. It's in the bottom half of the top 10. In terms of volume, it sees $1.3 billion exchanged in XRP. The circulating supply is 47.74 billion XRP. Maximum supply of 100 billion XRP tokens. The total supply is 99.9 billion XRP tokens, and it's considered a real-time gross settlement system. It's used for monetary transactions, basically. Now, XLM, the market cap is $5 billion. Volume, $272 million exchanged in 24-hour basis. Circulating supply is 24.84 billion XLM. The maximum supply is 50 billion XLM, and the total supply is 50 billion XLM. I'm rounding here. There is a bit of a discrepancy between the maximum ever and the total supply that's in existence right now. It looks like there's about 4,000 that can still be created of XLM, but in the grand spectrum of things, since the maximum supply is 50 billion, it's pretty much already all created. Most of it is not in circulation, though. We see less than half is in circulation. And once again, XLM is used for monetary transactions. So there was a bit of a disagreement with the direction of XRP back in 2013, 2014, and this would lead to overall a split not only in the blockchains but also in the development groups, where some leading figures in Ripple would break away and create their own development group called Stellar, which would create XLM based on the XRP blockchain. So there was a hard fork here where there's two separate projects, and this also resulted in two separate project teams. Here's the price action of XRP throughout 2021. You going into 2022. As we said before, we saw XRP reach a recent high of just about $2 and ultimately would fall along with the rest of the cryptocurrency market in May, going into June and July, and would reverse to the upside. Now, while many coins would go on to reach new all-time highs in October and November, such as Bitcoin and Ethereum, XRP did not reach that, and part of that could be attributed to the fact that it's still under investigation by the SEC for selling unregistered securities. Now, Stellar, on the other hand, Stellar shows somewhat of a similar price pattern. Here we see, while XRP, we'll go back just a little bit. So here's the XRP chart. Particularly in December, we saw XRP about 67 cents or so, 60 cents, and would ultimately we see a dramatic fall to the downside going into 2021 as a result to the XRP lawsuit with the SEC. Stellar did show correlation with that going into. Stellar was not named in any lawsuits implying that they were selling securities, but since Stellar is related to XRP, there is a correlation in the fact that their XLM is a hard fork. It's a similar cryptocurrency, and it's considered in the same family as XRP. There was a correlation in regards to price movement. Perhaps investors and traders thought that since XRP is going down, let me sell Stellar since that's going to go down too, which ends up being the result. Now, what's interesting here is that early January, we do see a rather dramatic spike from about maybe about 13 cents of a low going to a high of about 40 cents just in very early January in terms of XLM. We don't see that here. We do see a little bit of a price movement upwards from about, let's say, about 22 cents to about a little over 30 cents in XRP, but there's a much more dramatic percentage increase from about 13 cents to 40 cents observed in the same time period. We do see overall the price action somewhat fairly similar. Overall, much more dramatic price movement to the upside generally. XLM reached a high of 80 cents, not its all-time high, but a high of this particular cycle in 2021. This was observed in mid-May, and at the same time, we do see somewhat of an increase, somewhat of a correlation, particularly in mid-April. XRP did produce a recent high of $2. Mid-April, we do see somewhat of a movement upwards, but not quite as severe as XRP for the time being. We do see from mid-April to May, we do see XRP with a much more dramatic fall and would fail to reclaim those highs established in mid-April in May, whereas in May 2021, Stellar would fall back to these lows and would go on to produce new all-time, new cycle highs, not all-time highs, I'm sorry, new cycle highs in May and June. Now, combining them, XRP in the blue, XLM in the orange, we do get a better chance to see the correlation between the two markets. While sometimes there are much more dramatic movements, if we take a look at the actual pattern of the lines, there's a lot of correlation, a lot of similarities between the general price movements. Particularly, we do see that in the second half of 2021. We do see in April, August, September, very similar price structure and market structure in terms of highs, peaks, and valleys, swing highs, and then overall swing lows observed in late September, going into October.